according to the cloud. So tonight we're joined by a couple of people from San Luis Coastal School District, specifically to talk about the project for Baywood Elementary School. Before that, I'm going to real quick do a roll call of committee members. Seamus, I just want to mark down who's here. Lynette, Jim Hale, Trish, and Jeff Bartel. Okay. I don't have any announcements. Oh, here we have Andrea's coming in. I don't have any announcements. And let's see if Andrea has a public comment. She is not on the committee. Give her a moment to connect. Hi, Andrea. We've started the meeting and we're going to do public comment. Do you have a public comment for something that's not on the agenda?
Oh, well, thank you for, sorry, I just got on here. Yes, I just wanted to mention, as we've talked about the drainage issues between 11th and 9th Street in the 1400 block of here in Los Osos. You know, we're subject, I don't know if, I know you've seen the video, but we're subject to quite a lot of water that that probably county or CSD need to put in storm drains. And so we're just hoping that they, you know, do something like that. But I've had kind of a rough road with it because I don't know, no one wants to take responsibility yet and create like a plan, you know, and get funding. So, but it is a lot of water. It's about 3,000 to 7,000 gallons a minute. And it's just a, you know, it's a drowning hazard and it's ruining our properties and a management problem. So yeah, thank you for.
No, thank you, Andrea. And in fact, I am going to mention that issue as we get into talking about Baywood Elementary School. So let's go ahead and if Ryan, would you like me to share the design of the school, or do you want me to pull that up later?
Yeah, let me run through things first. So
sounds good.
Kind of a backdrop, right? So hello to everybody. Ryan Pinkerton. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, my 14th year in this position. Love San Luis Coastal. I was the Personnel Director for a few years and have been in my current position for about 12 now. I'm going to have Chris Bonin introduce himself real quick.
Hi, I'm Chris Bonin. I'm the Director of Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation for San Luis Coastal. I've been here about going almost 7 years now.
So we're kind of the tag team bond people, right? In terms of overseeing the bond program and construction. And of course, for every kind of just a quick historical picture, right? So and again, we're going to focus on Baywood Elementary School tonight. Okay. So back in the 90s, you know, prior to 2000, there was a tax override, Measure A, back in the day. And that's when they actually built, I believe, the multi-purpose room at Baywood Elementary School, maybe the parking lot there. So there's a little bit of work outside of the main school building that is, you know, probably 50 years old, right? So Baywood itself, now, so then we passed Measure D, which was a bond measure really focused on the two comprehensive high schools. Totally redid Morro Bay High, redid Slow High. And after seeing those two schools and how beautiful they turned out, we need to make our middle schools and our elementary schools look the same, right? So, so with Baywood in particular, Baywood, the building itself, and we're talking about the main classroom building, right? So the multi-purpose room, the kitchen there, the cafeteria area, the band room, bathrooms, that needs some light modernization, new fire alarm, those types of things, but maybe roofing, paint. But that building will stay and will exist, right? It's relatively new compared to the other building on campus. Baywood has always been a site that has had issues and concerns in regards to lockdowns and intruder drills. Just so you know. So,
Okay.
shootings, those types of things, right? Having everything interior, and they didn't have walls inside. So there was no way to like lock your classroom down or maintain lockdown drills. So we have added some walls and doors and things, but the building itself is it's a little rough too. If you've been inside Baywood, the ceilings are like really short inside there. And so we actually did a preliminary estimate of hey, what would it cost to modernize that current classroom building versus just starting over and building a new classroom. And honestly, it was because, and with the short ceilings and everything else, even if we modernized it, it still wouldn't be what we wanted, right? So it made much more sense to try to build a new school. Okay. So that's why we're not modernizing the current building and actually looking at a new campus. Now, to build a new campus, of course, we have to keep the current campus going. Kids are going to school there, right, as we do the construction. So that's part of the reason why we looked at building on the other side where the current basketball courts are, that grass area, right? We could build on that area and then basically once that's done, demo the current classroom building and then turn that into the field space, right? The public space for, basketball courts, paving, those types of things. The other thing that goes into this design too, in terms of it, just so that you know, is we have added what's called transitional kindergarten classes to all of our schools. So now starting, we're almost there, but the 24-25 school year, so not, or 25-26 school year, all 4-year-olds will also be able to come to public school all day at San Luis Coastal. So basically, instead of just kindergarten, now it actually goes down a whole nother level, right? So it's 4-year-olds on. And so the design that we put online, that is just so you know, that's just like putting some buildings in spot, right? RRM is going to start working with the school in this fall, starting in August. We'll meet with staff, meet with teachers, meet with parents, meet with community members, right? And we'll start to lay out what that looks like. But in particular, the reason why I say that is because you can pull up the site plan now. But over the first set of classrooms that'll be next to the multi-purpose room, that is where we'll start with like the TK and K kids, right? Because they don't like to have to walk very far to the multi-purpose room to eat. So that's something we've learned as we've gone through this process to keep the younger kids as close as possible. So again, there'll be a kindergarten TK playground where the current basketball courts are, then those classrooms, right? As we go down, and kind of build the classroom wings through that, add a library, add the office building. Now this it's as you know, a transitional site. So from the top of that school where the multi-purpose room is to the other side, it drops significantly in layers, right, as you go down. So RRM, there's civil. So again, there's part of this process is looking at the current site. And they'll be looking at drainage and civil plans and storm drains and sidewalks. And so everything for the entire site will have to come into this because we don't want flooding in our schools or flooding in our classrooms, those types of things, right? So all of that will be looked at through surveys. Of course, it all has to have ADA clearance. So that's the one thing that's, again, as we go through this process, as we look at, do we do kind of a layer of classrooms on the top where the basketball courts are, then have a ramp down to the next set of classrooms? Do we do a 2-story at that transition where you walk into the classrooms on the top and then you come around through the ramp system and walk into the classrooms underneath? So again, RRM will be looking at all of that, giving, hey, here's the pros and cons and how we can lay it out. That of course would save space, right? Baywood is a little limited on the grass space. So we want to, of course, keep that as expansive as possible, right? Which of course also helps with drainage and water intake, right? So all those types of things, it's a positive. We do have a current couple of parking lots there that now, I'm presuming, definitely the one by the multipurpose room will stay. The current entry point into Baywood on that side has lots of logistical issues, the way it's set up now. So that's why we had looked at moving it with the office to the other side. We'll have a bus turnout, so they'll actually come off of that main road right there and come into the campus for the bus turnout, which will be much more safe, right, in terms of kids entering and exiting the bus. And then we'll probably have to add some type of, I'm assuming, ADA parking along that bottom half of the campus. And then I would assume that kind of current parking that's down there by the water basin. So again, they have a water basin on campus, which is where kind of the stormwater drains to, right? Reservoir that I don't know that I've ever seen it full, but it's there. So all of the storm drain, all of that, of course, would have to tie into that, as well as the county properties, right? And I would assume that once the fields are in and the new blacktop, that other parking lot that's kind of a little bit lower would then, be a perfect kind of public parking space for those, for that area, right? So what happens is we'll start with the schematic design process. So this is, again, just on paper, drawing it. Where does it look like? How does this get laid out? Where do the kindergarten classes go? Where's the first grade, second grade, all the way through fifth, right? Where's the library going to be? The offices, how does that work out? So that's, again, and that's kind of the most the input time from public, right? Where things go, those types of things. And then after that, it'll move into the design process, right? Design development, where there, again, a lot of the civil. Do we have enough power on the campus? Now, as we build a new building, we are under the guidance or direction of the Department of State Architects. Okay, so school districts work through what's called DSA, Department of State Architects, and so they have all the Title 24 for lighting and electricity and those types of things that we have to follow. We're going to have solar on this campus, right? It's new law, California law. When you build a new building, you have to have solar tied to it. So that's something that will be tied in, whether it's on the roofs, whether we do it in the parking lot scenario, but at some place on the campus, there's going to have to be solar because of the new buildings we're putting in. Now, there are 3 types of buildings that we potentially can use, right? One is just stick built, right? So construction, wood, normal construction that you would have on a home. We are trying some modular buildings, which honestly, stucco outside, they look like a stick built building. You really can't tell very much, but they are modular. You put them together, it's much faster, quicker. And so we're analyzing right now the cost savings of stick built versus modular, right? So, and what makes sense in that direction. So that's something that we'll know, because we have modulars going in at a couple kindergarten modulars at Del Mar, at Monarch Grove, at Bishop's Peak, and at Los Ranchos. So we'll be able to see those prices per square foot. And then we have actually designed Pacific Beach High School, because that's a new school, kind of like what we're doing with Baywood. They're building it behind the current school. And we've kind of designed that building, stick built, in the same kind of squares, modules as a modular classroom, right? So we'll be able to kind of see, okay, because of course we would prefer to stick built, right, as much as possible. And so whether the whole thing is stick built, whether some classes are modular, again, that we'll see how it goes as we go through this, right? A lot of it is a budget, considerations and as we move through, but definitely we felt like Baywood, because of the current building, we just need to build a new school, right? So again, the survey, civil, now we are tied to our area. So we only have jurisdiction over our property lines, right? So anything that goes into the county, or in this case, like in San Luis Obispo, we're putting in a new sidewalk by Pacheco. The trees on our side, we're able to replace. The trees on the city side, we couldn't touch. We have to go through a process with them, work with them. So anything that's, in your case, county oriented, right? That's something we would have to work out if there's a tie-in. I know that there's sidewalks around, is the entire campus?
No, only
So on the
3
right
sides.
side, right? So that's
Only
something
3
we
sides.
would be putting in. We would be putting in sidewalks around the entire campus, right, as we go through. just to make it look nice and tie in. So, so again, there's kind of the actual architects of the building. There's a civil section of the architecture, right? There's electrical aspect of it to our, engineers, electrical engineers. We have kind of an HVAC, right? Because we'll be doing heating, new air conditioning, heating with all those buildings right throughout, and landscape. So that's, those are kind of all the groups, all the architects that work with RRM. And a lot of those are in-house for them because they have all those, within their part. They do electricals outside, the HVAC is outside, but the civil is in-house for them. And so they'll start to put together those plans. They'll look at all of those things, the water flow, where things go, the current storm drains, what kind of shape they're in, do they work, do they not? And we'll tie into all of those things. Chris, what else anything I missed on that aspect of it?
Oh, you covered it.
Okay.
All right, great. Okay, well, a couple of comments.
Yeah.
First of all, we're glad that we're getting to talk to you at the beginning when this is still in the process of being brought together. And from my side, I believe it's brilliant that you're going to build the new school and then take the old school down. That just is smart. But our concerns are concerns that have been, I believe, Ryan, you saw our Safe Trek report. This was a report that was done. We got a grant from UC Berkeley, and they hired a third-party consultant to come down and do a safety study in Los Osos. And we were allowed to choose 3 locations. We chose Monarch Grove, Baywood Elementary, and the downtown Baywood district because we feel those 3 areas were our highest priority in terms of safety. Baywood has serious safety issues around the school, and they were highlighted within this report. Now you're talking about changing the school, and we want to make sure that you are cognizant of the safety issues that currently exist in this location. And so I am going to share screen, and I'm just going to pull up some of the things that we find to be of concern as soon as I find my map. There it is. And now I will share that with you. There we go. So now you're going to see, you see Baywood Elementary right here. And so I'm just going to talk about the issues the way they exist right now.
Okay.
Here's Baywood Elementary. You can see my cursor, right?
Yep.
All right. So 11th Street and El Moro are collector streets. They are 2 of the, we don't have very many collector streets in our town because, as you can see, a lot of our streets sort of piddle out. They become dirt. Even Santa Maria, which is on the other side of Baywood Elementary, at 13th Street, from here to 18th is just dirt. It's not even a paved road. So this 11th Street goes all the way from the business area, almost Los Osos Valley Road, all the way to the other side of Los Osos Baywood. It gets a lot of traffic. El Moro is a collector street that goes from the Baywood district down all the way down to the water and comes all the way up to 11th Street and 12th Street, and then it dies here at 13th Street. Why? Because here from 13th Street on, it's a bike path. Now, I'm going to show you where that bike path goes. That bike path, pedestrian path that is heavily, heavily used, goes to Los Osos Middle School. If you go to Baywood Elementary at 3:30, you will have not only children coming out of Baywood Elementary, but you will see middle school kids on bikes and walking. There are no sidewalks. The only sidewalks is there's one sidewalk here, one sidewalk here, and one sidewalk here. That's it. If you're walking on El Moro, you're walking on the sandy shoulder of a collector street. It is scary. You also have a very busy intersection here, 11th and 9th Street. I'm going to tell you how busy it is, if you talk to the school, and I'm sure you will, and ask them about crossing guards, we were told that they can't get volunteers because it's so dangerous at those corners. They actually have to use staff to come out. And the last time I was there, which was about a month ago, there were no crossing guards at all. There should be a crossing guard here, and there should be a crossing guard here. There were none. There were, however, 2 women who were crossing guards here. Now, this is the turn-in. Like you were describing, you're going to move to the other side. This is the turn-in where you have cars pulling in, picking up kids, right? So we had ladies with signs, you know, sort of guiding the children to the cars. Now, this street is a really quiet street. Why? Because of that dirt portion. It doesn't get a lot of traffic, and you will see people walking in the middle of the street, riding their bike in the middle of the street because it's so low key. Down here on Monday is the farmers market where they close off that street. So again, it's one of these streets that's really pedestrian bike friendly. This street, 11th Street, is a scary street. You have FedEx trucks, you have UPS trucks, you have food delivery trucks, you have all kinds of commercial traffic coming on 11th Street. In your proposal, you had showed a parking lot here, which was a concern, and then you also showed
I know it's laid out, but it's not like that's going to completely change when they.
Yeah, I'm just saying our concern, and this sort of pull-in section. Again, you're going to have a lot of traffic pulling in onto this very, very busy street. Now, here's the third problem that Andrea brought up. As you mentioned, there is a big elevation change here. That's where the water's coming from. The water's coming down 12th Street. The water's coming down 11th Street. It's collecting here. It's floods here. This is the street where Andrea lives. It completely floods her house. That's how much water's coming down. If you concrete in this section, which right now is sandy and with trees, you will actually increase the amount of water that will be flooding El Moro. So I just want to bring that to your attention. I know you have to do it. It's going to be necessary if you build the school over there. I just want to bring that to your attention that this is already an issue, and it's going to get worse when you concrete in that side of the 11th Street, which right now has no concrete at all.
And there are no storm drains on that side? I mean,
We haven't seen any storm drains. In fact, this drainage area that you mentioned, I don't ever see anything going in there. So I don't know what's going on. And obviously, these are all things that can be worked out and figured out.
No, of course, yeah.
But
we're going to have to do it for the whole, our site. That will be something that they'll be looking at the whole site. So that whole square right there will all be surveyed, storm drain, where the water goes, those types of things. But it doesn't necessarily help, you know, after we get into the street area, right? So
yeah, so I mean, like I said, if you concrete this, you're going to increase the amount of water flowing down. Now you're going to increase the flooding here.
If we put storm drains in on that side and add a bunch of drainage that leads it to that, then that could solve a lot of that problem for sure.
100%. We're in the business of solving problems here and looking down the road and saying, oh, this could be better. And this is what we see as a real opportunity to make an improvement, a really, really big improvement, because this school, you know, it's simply a big concern of ours. And, and, you know, these are young kids. And then you have these middle school kids. I mean, it's just a crush of kids all congregating right in the same area. And, yeah, if you ever get the chance to be there at that time of day,
I've been there. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like holy cow. And there's no safe route to school here. There's no safe route to school on this road. No sidewalk. No, the bike lane is non-existent. And we would like to work with the county to do something about that.
Sure.
And so using Baywood Elementary as our jumping off point, we would like to petition the county and SLOCAG to say, all right, now's the time. Let's get some, sidewalks here, some proper bike lanes here, so that all of these kids, whether they're Baywood Elementary or Los Osos Middle School, can get, home safely. That's what we'd like to see.
Yeah.
Seamus, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ryan, maybe, and this is probably premature, but do you guys have any, I think, I would echo everything that Deborah's saying. And I think as far as going forward, our interest is really just in making sure that we're involved in the conversation. So I was curious whether you guys had anything specific or concrete as far as the public outreach in the design, what were you calling it? The schematic design process?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to start in August.
Okay.
It'll kick off in August with school site. We don't ask people where like the storm drains are going to go, right? Just so you know. So that's not normally like a public comment, it's more of the site itself. And honestly, it's a lot of it is the teacher feedback and, what's the best way for the site, what's going to be best for kids, right? Those types of things that we tie in. I mean, yeah, we'll definitely tell RRM that there's water issues along that, along 15th Street and, to make sure, we'll be looking at that as we look at the whole site, right? And how does that feed into the actual water basin that's already there, right? I would assume all of that will be part of the conversation in terms of from the water standpoint. Again, the safety aspect of putting a sidewalk all around the school, of course, is a positive thing, right? For kids to walk and be safe and those types of things. Again, where the bus turnout ends up being, where the parking is going to be, that's all up in the air still. Like that's not, they're going to have to look at how does it fit on the site. Again, starting with that kind of survey and how things go and where are the storm drains and where is the infrastructure part of it, will all be tied to it. We can, of course, work with you and talk with the county about those intersections, those types of things. But again, once we leave kind of the footprint of the school district, it's like, that's not something I can't just like go do anything to that area by myself, right? It would have to be through the county. But I'm actually on I've been tied into kind of SLOCAG and the traffic, those types of things. So I know that they're looking at all of this and looking at grants and doing that. And so if this is an area that we can get them to prioritize, yeah, I'm all on board to help them to make that happen.
Excellent. Well, that's what LOCAC's all about, is working with the county and really providing that input to the county. And that's what we hope to do for you as well, is to provide this input about this location in terms of our concerns as a community.
Yeah.
Here is where we have some of the greatest flooding because it's coming off of 11th, 12th, collecting here on 10th. 10th Street happens to be one of our only bicycle boulevards, which, as you know, is a safe way for bikes to go to and from one spot to another spot. And that's because it's blocked out at the top of the ridge here. No cars can travel that. It's a dead end, but not for bikes. So we really would like to have, we'd like to keep this working for kids and for people who do need to get to the other side of Los Osos. But I just wanted to share with you our concerns. We want to see some improvements here. I don't know, we'd like to talk to the county about how we can improve this intersection here as far as traffic goes, because it goes pretty fast, but that's not your concern. Your concern is making sure that you get a really well-built school and that it all functions together.
Listen, we want it to be safe for kids. So it is my concern, right? I don't want you to think it's not my concern part of it. So yeah, I'd be happy to work with, you do what I can to assist with that, whether, the county can be, they can be rough at times to deal with, right? In terms of going through. So I have control over that square, right? So I can do anything I can to help you and work on drainage, those types of things in that square. And then the other part, we can still work with the county and try to do things. So that, yeah, I mean, it seems like it might be a nice spot for a traffic light, right? Just or some type of warning lights, or that you can press the button and the flashers come on, or those types of things, crosswalks, for sure. So yeah, we'll definitely want to look at some of those issues. And I would assume, honestly, that when RRM comes out and does some of their talks with parents, and that's going to come out. Parents are going to share those concerns, right? Not just your group. So those will be things that we'll definitely consider as we go through it, especially the pickup drop off areas and parking.
Great. My experience has been with the county that the more voices that are saying the same thing, the more attention they're going to pay to this. And
Sure.
so again, I'm just seeing this as a real opportunity for us to take our case to the county and say, okay, now's the time. And LOCAC has money for safe routes to school, and we just need to take some of that money and put it here because the need is great.
Yeah.
So working with the San Luis Coastal, I think, will really help us, and we want to help you.
Yeah.
And so I just really appreciate both of you coming in. Is there anything else that you would like to say, or you some takeaway for us?
No, I think we appreciate you giving us a heads up on the situation, especially the water runoff part. That'll be something that we'll definitely want to look at and examine. So do they have very little storm drain right now in the streets? Like I'm
going to send you a video that Andrea has put together that shows the water flowing.
I know, I trust you, right? I'm just wondering, in the whole city, like this whole area, is there just no storm drains at all?
Yeah, no, it's seriously bad. It's a real problem. And there is a pump here on 9th Street that the CSD operates, because again, it's because everything's draining in this direction and it's collecting here on El Moro, and then it's running down towards the bay. So
that's definitely something that we'll want to address with RM, because we, again, I'm assuming it's not coming from Baywood School itself, but probably from the roads, right? That tie into it.
More from the roads.
Yeah, but there's potentially some drainage things that we could do maybe along that sidewalk or along 11th that maybe could pick up some of that water and take it over to that basin, right?
I think so.
So, okay. Interesting.
Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
You're
free to stay for the rest of the meeting, but I really appreciate your time, and let's stay in communication. I know this project is, it's going to take some time to get going, and you're still in the creative process, but we're available.
Sounds good. Yeah, I would anticipate probably like a year-long planning process for this next school year, right? In terms of input, getting schematics down, doing those types of things, and they'll actually, begin to design those types of things. So I'll tie you in. I'll share information as it comes up, right? Seamus, you'll see it, and our teacher newsletters, those types of things as well. But we can share with the group. And then if there's a SLOCAG meeting or something you want me to attend or go to, just reach out and let me, and Chris and I are more than happy to assist with that. Like I said, I just joined a couple of the traffic advisory committees, so I'll be sure to bring this up when it's through the county, when it comes up as well, and look and see if we can definitely, use some of that for the 11th Street, right? It's kind of the key.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be really, really great. I'd appreciate that very much.
Yeah. And then Chris Unger and Marilyn Roger are both the trustees in your area too, and they love Los Osos and both live in Los Osos, right? And are great constituents for you. So reach out to them and as well, right? If you have any questions or anything, and I'll make sure that they're aware of what our conversation tonight, and kind of what we're doing to try to help out the community.
Great, thank you so much. And before you go, Ryan, can you give us an update on Sunnyside School? Do you have an appraisal or?
So we do have an appraisal, which we've given to the county, right? So so we're, again, from a student population standpoint, the coast is shrinking. In particular, Morro Bay. There's hardly any. I mean, I think when I first started this job, there were 500 kids at Del Mar Elementary School. There's like 212 there now. It's just crazy. No housing, right? Lack of housing, lack of affordable housing. Now, I don't know if the water situation in Los Osos with the potential building development, is that gonna, hopefully help, but both at Baywood and Monarch Grove, we're seeing kind of leveling now, but really kind of low enrollment at both sites, right? That's part of the reason why we looked at moving the dual immersion program back to Baywood, because a lot of kids were leaving the coast and going to Pacheco. So now we're keeping those kids on the coast, which means that they go to Los Osos Middle School, which means they go to Morro Bay High School, right? So it's a win for everybody to keep kids on the coast. So all that said, we're never going to use Sunnyside Elementary School.
Right.
So the board has talked a little bit about affordable housing for staff, teachers, those types of things. Whether that's in the best interest of the school district to try to tackle or not, I don't, we're still debating that. But the Los Osos community they need a home, right? They need a dog park and a library and all the other things that the other community and a park and like the things that Napomo has and Templeton and other areas, right? So, so it just seems like it could be a real win-win, right? For the district, for the community, if the county was able to purchase Sunnyside. So we're kind of just in initial conversations with them right now. The appraisal's done. I've sent it to the county and we're waiting for them to kind of hear back, and we'll have those conversations with our board and with their board and see if there's a win-win for everybody in this, as we move forward.
Well, that we support that. And we know
Yeah.
that we will do everything we can to make sure that, Supervisor Gibson and all the supervisors know that this is very, very important for this community, especially as you mentioned, now the building moratorium is being lifted, and we do expect to see growth here in Los Osos. I don't think we'll be able to stop it. And it's
Yeah.
going to happen gradually, but we're expecting probably 30 homes in the first year. So yeah, we need it. We need the recreational space.
Sure.
So again, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And so
And
we'll
we're
be
also,
talking to-
just for the group to know too, right? All of our schools they're parks, right? For the
Oh,
community.
trust me, we
We're
know,
putting, the Los
because
Osos
I
Middle
spent a lot of
School.
time at Baywood
Right, so
Elementary.
yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of work at Monarch Grove at both Baywood, right? We're gonna be putting in a whole set of pickleball courts at Los Osos Middle School and doing all kinds of things, right? Fixing up the tennis courts there and the fields area, those types of things, which we know are very used by the public. And so again, this Measure C, it's great for kids, great for our schools, but it's also a great, just for the community, right? In terms of it. So if you ever have any issues or problems, feel free to reach out to Chris or myself and we'd be happy to assist.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. It's great working with you. We look forward to making this into a really great project.
Sounds good.
All right.
Appreciate
thanks.
it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank
Bye.
you.
All right, let me stop share. That was fun. So, a lot of good information there. Priorities from the Los Osos Community Plan is next on our agenda. And what I really want to do here is start thinking about where do we want to put our effort in terms of making improvements for Los Osos, whether it's pedestrian or bikes or safety. This past weekend, I was down in Baywood and, a lot of people are here because it's so hot in the valley. They're coming here to get away from the heat. And so we're getting a lot more activity down in Baywood. You've got Beerwood, you've got High Street Deli, you've got the Merrymaker, music is going on. So we're getting a lot of people, and our infrastructure isn't really designed to handle a lot of traffic. And I think if we look down the road, we're going to see more traffic. And so we need, in my mind, to think about where are the hot spots? Where do we need crosswalks? Where do we need bike lanes? Where do we need trails where people can walk to one place to the other without having to be on the street? And if we put together our list and then we prioritize what's the most important thing to go after, then we can start going to the county and looking for funding, because it all comes down to money. I put the Los Osos Valley Road pedestrian and bike shared use path because I think that's doable. I think it's doable from Palisades to Pine, from Pine to Doris. I'm not so sure, but I think we have, it's in the Los Osos community plan. And with the corridor study, I think we'll be able to possibly get some funding out of that. So that, to me, that's like, okay, check that box. We definitely want that. But what else do we want? Because if we don't know what we want, how can we lead the community into, you know, oh, look at this. Don't you want this? Well, yes, we do. Okay, well, let's go make it happen. I really want input from the community and from the committee on this, because I don't want it just to be my ideas. Trish.
Well, I really think that we need something from Palisades to Baywood to the town. So, and I would like to be able to figure out a way. And if you look at, there's a map that I have. Unfortunately, the last map I can get from Parks and Rec was dated March 2007. But they're showing that there is a multi-use trail, which isn't really there, and it goes from Highland to Sunnyside School to Palisades. And then it looks like it's cutting right through the area where they were going to put the sewer. So that, and it goes right through that all the way down to 3rd Street to Pasadena. So it's an old map that at one time Parks and Rec had that they were going to do. So it makes sense. It would keep all of the kids safe that are down in the Highlands area, so that they would have a route to get to, and because it shows a route to get to Monarch Grove, then it shows another route for them to get to Sunnyside, to get to Palisades, and then to cut behind the library and go all the way down to Baywood.
Okay. Wow. I'd like to see this map. When you have a chance,
you know what, I'll scan it, because
scan it and send it to me, and then I will send it out to all the committee members.
Yeah,
and we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, I think I picked it out of one of the old LOCAC boxes from, must have been 2007. But I think one of the things we really need to do is we do need to talk to the Parks Department, because the Parks Department is responsible for some of these trails. And if we could talk to them and say, you know, this is something from 2007, how can we work on this and coordinate it with some of the other stuff that we're talking about?
Yeah, excellent. That's great, Trish. Thank you. Tom, I see your hands up. Go ahead. Tom. Oh, okay. You don't want to talk.
No, I do. I was fussing with my microphone. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yes.
All right. Wow, it's been a while since something that happened. All right, so I agree with Trish on the desire to focus on Palisades. That's such a beautiful potential like artery street in Los Osos, and like I got involved in this committee way back when with Jim Quisenberry because of that. I heard this morning he died.
He did.
So
Okay.
that kind of reinvigorated me to get involved in this. I know I've been very absent, but
Good,
I'm trying to find the time to get back involved. So yeah, Palisades, the road from the elementary school to Palisades, and then Palisades to Baywood, and the whole core loop idea.
Yeah, core loop idea, definitely. Anybody else? Tom, Jim Hale wanted me to talk about a crosswalk at 3rd Street and El Moro. So you know how that curve is, that coming out of Baywood, and then you have people walking to Sweet Springs, on 3rd Street, and then you have El Moro, which is a crazy street. Yeah, he said, why, there should be a crosswalk there. And I agree, there should be a crosswalk there. And there should be a crosswalk at Rodman and Pacho. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 things right now. There's going to be more things that, Seamus, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, everything that people have mentioned so far, I agree with. I think that there are, it occurred to me, I was riding my bike with my son down to Baywood actually this afternoon to drop him off at a little art camp thing. And you can actually see like along the streets where people have put signs saying slow your roll, drive like your kids live here. I really think that it's maybe worth considering mapping all of those locations, because those are like people are going out with their own money and like buying these things because clearly the county is not responsive to concerns about high traffic. So I think, and the one that caught my eye when you guys mentioned the 3rd Street crosswalk, there's a whole set of them right at 3rd and El Moro, kind of as you sweep down into Baywood. And I obviously like money is the great question mark here. But to me, I think like we have this great little cute downtown, as you talked about, with these new businesses opening. The community is already used to going to Baywood. Everybody is always walking, riding their bikes along 3rd Street down to Sweet Springs, along Ramona. I would say, like, to me, all of those, so like Ramona with my son feels very unsafe. He's on his bike and he's a good bike rider or whatever, but he's, 2 feet tall. I really would love to see like that already kind of natural focus point for the community really get a lot of attention as far as like bike lanes, sidewalks, safe, honestly, just raising safety along those streets to me is like the biggest thing. I would, and this is like you mentioned along the weekends, and this is maybe a cheap way to kind of experiment with this, but it kind of occurred to me like I used to live in LA, and they routinely, I think it's once a month, they close one of the major boulevards, right? Ciclavia, I think they call it. And everybody rides bikes up and down, Pico or whatever the big street is. We close Santa Maria every week. I don't know if the county would allow us to like close 2nd Street once a month, right? And let kids ride their bikes around. You could have, Beerwood and all these places serve lunches out in the street. Like, I think getting people out of their cars, getting people used to walking and riding their bikes to these places can give a little bit of energy behind the stuff that we want to see. So that's my 2 cents.
That is a fabulous idea. It really is a fabulous idea. And so let's work on that. What's cool is that they've just opened that area across from Nardoni's where you can have that. So if we could create something around there where it's car free. One of the things that came up in the Safe Trek report is that 2nd Street is too wide. The consultant said it's so wide that it makes people go fast. And they came up with ways that they suggested we could make it feel more like, oh, I can't really go fast because it's, tight quarters. And so we'll have to take another look at that. But I think that is a really super cool idea. And so let's you know, maybe walk around a little bit, get a feel for it and see where we might be able to make that happen. I'm sure the businesses will go for it. If we can set it up right. And then it's like no car Sunday or whatever it is. For that little area, right there along the coast, right? Which is where so lovely. Okay, well,
Jeff has his hand up.
oh, Jeff, do you have your hand up?
I do. I do. One of the things that Trish and I have seen, actually, it was up at Mammoth, that was very effective were signs that instead of having either typical slow school zone or children playing or slow your roll, it was a picture of a mama bear and her babies, and it said, speeding kills wildlife. And it was very effective, at least for us and for our friends. When we see those, it really made you stop and think and slow down. So something, I think that's obviously we're very concerned about our kids and us too when we're out there recreating and using the streets and things. But also a secondary concern is the wildlife here, and maybe that would get people's attention.
Interesting approach. Okay, I hadn't thought of that. I like it. I like it. Let me write that down. All right. So let's keep thinking and refining these ideas. And again, once we sort of get them put together, we'll prioritize how, like this thing with the school, it's really a kickstart for us to get some stuff done down there because we're going to get some attention. We're going to get attention from the county. We're going to get attention from SLOCOG. So we want to keep that momentum going. And so it kind of does make sense for us just to keep going down into the Baywood, get that crosswalk at 3rd Street, get something going, like a no car day down in Baywood. People will love that. They will absolutely love it. Yeah, let's put it together. Email me your ideas and your suggestions. I'll start putting them together in a spreadsheet, or I'll have somebody else do it since I'm not good at spreadsheets. But Trish will do it. And then we'll start knocking on some doors. If we get the businesses behind us, that will be a very powerful voice to, of persuasion, a voice of persuasion.
Deb, I wanted to ask what your impression is in your conversations with the county as far as the trail from Palisades to Pine. I mean, it seems like that was very much a part of their LOVR vision or whatever at Monarch Grove. And I guess I'm just wondering, can we afford to sort of take our focus off of that because that's now sort of fully in their wheelhouse, or is it something that we're going to need to continue to sort of push and agitate for?
That's a really great question. And the answer is no, we can't take our focus off. I had a conversation with one of the people at SLOCOG, and I asked, are we good to go on this pathway? And he said no. That in fact, we could have probably gone after some money, community betterments money through SLOCOG this funding cycle, and the county didn't put us up for it. So why? I don't know. But they're doing a lot of stuff down in Oceano, and they're doing a lot of stuff down in Napomo, and they're getting a lot of traction with Supervisor Paulding because he's pushing it. So if we want to get traction and if we want to get some results, we're going to need some support from Supervisor Gibson. And so far, I haven't really felt him come out and say, yes, this is a project that needs to happen. And without that, it's going to be very difficult. So we can't we can't take our attention away from that. But that doesn't mean we can't, you know, add to our collective list and again, prioritize. The Baywood stuff might just be easier, you know, because of the school, the momentum, the businesses, and the natural attraction to, you know, that's a tourist area. It might just be easier. But it's a good question, Seamus, and thanks for asking it. Anybody else? Anything else?
My only last thing is all three of our schools need to go to the library or the community center. So I do think that we've got to figure out the safe routes to get the kids to the community center, get the kids to the library. Because I sometimes see all of these little tiny 2 feet people walking along Los Osos Valley Road because they're doing a library field trip. And it is so unsafe when I see that. And there's like 30 kids and they're all, you know, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6-year-olds, they're small.
Well, and if we are successful in getting Sunnyside as a park, you're going to have back and forth kids,
Mhm.
both sides of the
Both
street.
sides of the street. Yeah, no, I think now is really the time. We've got to prioritize, we got to move, we've got to, if we don't get what we need from Supervisor Gibson, I say we need to start petitioning all of the other supervisors, because the supervisors are supposed to be equal and help everyone. So if we don't get what we need with one, we need to branch out.
Well said. Well said. All right. Anything else? That's all I have for the agenda, but I think we're really, you know, we've got some great ideas here. And I think we're gonna, hi. Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. It's 7 o'clock and I think we had a great meeting and obviously was well worth it. Speaking to Ryan and getting that information from him about the school.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you. I want to thank you for speaking for me too. Thank you.
You're
You're
welcome,
welcome, Andrea. We're going to try to get something done there.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.